Hello everyone, my name is Mark Reed. I am a Professor of Socio-Technical Innovation at Newcastle University and I work with Fast Track Impact. As you can hear, I have a couple of apologies to make to you. The first is that I have clearly lost my voice, so I will do my best to make myself intelligible to you. And the second is, of course, that I am not there with you today. So I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. Instead, I am in the forest behind my house. And I want to give you a perspective on where I think we may be headed with the impact agenda and the role of public engagement within that. I think it's quite interesting if you look back to the original charters that founded many of our most ancient universities in this country. You see that impact is embedded at the heart of these institutions. This idea that we as a public, the government or whoever, the king, is going to invest money in an institution, because it will somehow bring benefits back to society. This knowledge will be of value to our country. And we have recently been coming back to this idea, partly because of austerity, but this idea that if taxpayers are paying for the majority of the research that goes on in our universities, then taxpayers need to know that that is being put to good use and that there is public benefit coming from that. And so you have the Research Excellence Framework in the UK, but many similar initiatives around the world. And for many of us, this is quite simple. It's quite easy to get our heads around. I am a conservationist by training, and like many other applied disciplines, this is kind of part of our DNA. We do this. Most of us have done this because we want to make a difference. For many of the rest of us, however, this is not something that comes naturally. For a pure scientist, for an arts and humanities scholar who is doing something which is not directly applicable or of instant public interest, this is really quite difficult to get your head around. And so in the Research Excellence Framework, we have seen many of the more applied disciplines shying away from public engagement because there are so many much easier to measure and evaluate impacts that we can get from engaging with stakeholders and generating new businesses or policies or whatever. And as a result, it's been the domain of the arts and humanities primarily. If you analyse the 2014 data, that's where we see the majority of the public engagement case studies, and many very impressive ones at that. Stern, in his review of the Research Excellence Framework, said, look, guys, you need to expand your thinking here a bit. We need to have a much broader conception of impact, and we need to try and encourage people to do more public engagement. Now, the first thing is I would say is don't just do public engagement because this is something that you're somehow expected to do. I review a lot of pathways to impact where I see this kind of tacked on at the end, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what, this is this really, really narrow, specific thing that is of interest to a manufacturing process in one minute sector, and yeah, it's going to be a game changer for that sector of the economy. But you know what, I feel sorry for whoever in the public ends up coming to this event because it's going to be really boring. This is not of public interest. Don't just do it because you have to somehow do public engagement. Do it because you genuinely think that publics will benefit from this. And that brings me on to where this is headed. So first of all, practically, and then perhaps more conceptually. Practically, I think that there are a lot of things that we can do to make our lives a lot easier when it comes to engaging with publics. I think a lot of us are quite kind of reactive. We'll take opportunities as they arise, and we're not that strategic. And if you can actually be a bit more strategic, you can save a huge amount of time. So do a stakeholder or publics analysis and actually ask yourself which of these publics are likely to be most interested in my research and which of them are likely to benefit most. And instantly you'll discover that there are a bunch of quite specific groups of people that may have nothing to do with demography and much more to do with their interests and their context or constraints or things like that. And these people may actually be quite hard to reach. They may not intrinsically be interested in your research. They're not the kind of people who are on the social media platform you are on or who will come to a public lecture. And you have to really think about how you can reach them. But you now know exactly what your target is, and you can start to research those people and understand how you can put yourself in their shoes and take your work to them. So this is now much more targeted. I've got a list of different groups that I want to try and reach out to, and I'm not trying to reach the entire world, the general public. And if I prioritize these and I only manage to reach the top 3, then at least I reach the top 3 who could benefit the most. Let's be realistic. We don't all have limitless time to give to this. And then actually make a concrete plan. So I use logic models. Some people use theories of change. I use those sometimes as well. But a specific tool that can help you to structure your thinking and work out, right, what exactly is the benefit that people will get? Okay, yeah, they're interested, but if these people indulge that interest, how will they benefit? What will they tell me is meaningful to them, has a value to them? Articulate some really clear, measurable goals, and then think about specific activities tailored to the different interests of the people that you will engage with and their characteristics. And what you start to find then is that you now have a range of different options, different pathways that I can take with different groups that may be harder or easier to do. Some may be very time consuming or costly. Some of them may be very easy to evaluate and to measure and to demonstrate benefits. Some may be much harder. And now I can take a decision to say, right, this is the pathway I'm going to take because I want something that will be fast, or because I want something I can evaluate and measure and report on, or whatever the reason is. And I can see that clearly these groups will benefit. So when you start to use these more strategic tools, you can start to do, I would argue, better impact, but crucially faster impact in terms of not wasting time going down dead ends or doing things that you end up running out of time for, or budget, or skills, or whatever. This then leads me to my second point in terms of the future of public engagement. We are, I think, yes, becoming smarter in how we do this, how we plan for this. We're becoming more efficient. But looking deeper, we need to interrogate why it is that we're doing this. And for me, the Research Excellence Framework presents a major challenge in this area, because increasingly I think that researchers are becoming extrinsically incentivized by their managers, by their institutions, to do impact for their career, to get promotion, to do impact for their unit, to get them quality-related income for their institution, to help them to rise through the league tables. And this is, for me, potentially a conflict of interest, because now I'm talking to you as a public, as a stakeholder, not because I'm actually genuinely interested in what is of public benefit, but in reality because of what I or my institution needs. And this can then lead to negative unintended consequences. So if it turns out that you're not interested now, but later, that actually you're interested in someone else's research linked to mine, but not actually using my tool, my bit of work, then, I may well just drop you like a stone, because now you can't serve my interests. And so we're losing, I think, the heart of this whole thing. This at its heart, for me, has to be about people. It has to be about relationships and trust. And we lose that at our peril. Ask yourself this question. Why do you do what you do? Why are you a researcher? And literally, every one of you now, I want you just to ask yourself that question. Think back to a day recently when you left work and thought, wow, I love my job. Can you believe that I get to do this for a living? Hopefully it wasn't too long ago. What was it that gave you that real sense of satisfaction? What is it that primarily motivates you? And we'll all have different answers. For some of us, we are intrinsically motivated by the idea of impact. I do what I do because I want to make a difference. For the majority of researchers that I work with, actually, that's there perhaps, but very often in the background. And actually, this is primarily, for many of us, about curiosity and creativity. And if that is you, then I would like to ask you to start thinking about how you can connect those intrinsic motivations to impact. Might, as a result of engaging with publics and stakeholders, you have to think beyond your current disciplinary envelope because of the nature of the challenges that you are now trying to address. Might publics now ask you questions? People ask crazy questions that you can't answer and that actually are fundamentally interesting and that take you down these crazy avenues you would never have dreamt that you would start going down until you'd started engaging with these people with such different perspectives to you. Whatever your motives are, my plea is do impact if you want to for the right reasons. And the right reasons are your reasons. Let us be intrinsically motivated for impact because we want to do it, not because our managers and our institutions tell us we should do it. And if we do that, then we get back to the beating heart of the impact agenda and we can secure its integrity and the integrity of the academy as we start to engage increasingly with publics for the long term. So think strategically, think about how you can do this more efficiently and more effectively, but never lose sight of that beating heart if you want your public engagement to genuinely make a difference for the long term. You have, I think, in front of you a handout. This is based on some recent research that I've done on evaluating public engagement. And I think as my final point, I'll just highlight what you've got in front of you, and for me, its importance, because I think that one of the key reasons that we have seen less public engagement than we might have expected in the research excellence framework is because of the perception that this is too difficult to measure. Yeah, I could do it, but I can't demonstrate benefit and I can't compete with other people who've got these much more naturally easy to measure kinds of things. And my message to you is that actually there are a bunch of methods that you can use. We are increasingly taking this longitudinally. We're being much more sophisticated about how we measure this stuff. It's not actually that difficult. So you can do public engagement efficiently and effectively for the right reasons, and you can measure the benefits. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.